Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Kryptonite Core. This video is my reaction to everything that happened at WWE Elimination Chamber, and also a slight reaction to what happened at TNA No Surrender, and what we should look forward to on both of the events going forward. Also talking a little bit more about Matt Riddle and Nick Nemeth becoming champions in New Japan Pro Wrestling, diving deep within that realm of things. But if you're new to the channel, go ahead and leave a comment. Even if you have been around before, leave a comment about what you enjoyed most about the WWE Elimination Chamber, and what you didn't really enjoy or didn't like about the show. So obviously everybody knows right now that Drew McIntyre walked out of that men's elimination chamber match with his head held high and became victorious, and he will go one-on-one, toe-to-toe, face-to-face with the WWE World Heavyweight Champion at Wrestlemania 40 in a match that we have seen before, but it is anticipated. All right. So Drew got 2 eliminations in the chamber. He looked vicious. He looked malicious. He looked like he had a plan, and he's doing his old heel, tactical psycho gimmick, where he on SmackDown he teased that the arm injury that Bobby Lashley had, he was going to work on, and well, he worked on it. And Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins are going to have an incredible contest, and I see it being probably one of the openers. Sadly, one of the openers for the show, and I don't really think that it needs or should be the opener, especially because in the last few months, Roman Reigns and many others have labeled it as the B-list title, and have also labeled it as a championship that is for the contenders that couldn't beat Roman. And so they pretty much buried the championship and made it seem like it was pointless and unwanted and unneeded and undesirable. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. You know, when you have a world champion in any promotion, it doesn't matter if it's the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, the AAA World Champion, the New Japan Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, which is or the All Japan Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, WWE Heavyweight Champion, World Heavyweight Champion. They're the importance of the company. All right. So this match is highly anticipated in my eyes. Now, I'm thinking that they're going to give the title, the strap, to Drew McIntyre, simply because, not because, he's Drew and he's on this terror and he's, got this crazy cool gimmick, and, he's put over now for a little bit because he supposedly was the one who injured CM Punk. And he's now, does that gimmick where he walks up to someone and he says that he's going to pray for him, and then he walks away and really gets himself over as a top heel on the roster, and not just looks like an average Joe. Doesn't look like he blends in too much with the people, and he looks like he's getting himself over. But I think this is mainly happening because his contract is coming up, and WWE wants to make sure that they keep this dude on the roster. Now, I don't think it's really a factor that this guy is going to leave the company. I don't think it's a factor at all that he's going to be leaving, but there is a small little smidget of a chance that he could go to AEW or another promotion. Because he has in the past been unhappy, and in the past he has been a little testable with that kind of thing. So, but there are other talents that are contracts are coming up, such as Sheamus and stuff, that has a bigger factor of actually becoming a free agent than Drew does. And I think actually Sheamus, the rumor is that Sheamus probably will not resign, and he will probably be picked up by AEW. And that's sad to say, because I really enjoyed Sheamus being in the WWE, but this is obviously right now at this time is just a rumor, and it is just something that I've heard. But so Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre is official. One of the key points, or a few key points that I seen in that chamber match, was Logan Paul and Kevin Owens obviously wanted to beat the holy heck out of each other. They wanted to decimate each other. They wanted to wreck each other's lives and ruin each other's lives, right? So we did have that kind of warfare between those two individuals. But the more important thing that I like to see was the little snidbit of heat between Logan Paul and Randy Orton. Now, Logan Paul is the current United States champion. So this right here makes me think that Logan Paul will be facing Randy Orton at WrestleMania, okay, because he cracked him a good one with the brass knucks and laid that boy out. All right. So I think that WrestleMania, it's going to be Logan Paul and Randy Orton one-on-one, toe-to-toe, face-to-face in the square circle. And I think that's a good way to get Logan Paul, more eyes on him. And also, Randy Orton, a tremendous competitor, obviously, a legend. Living, breathing legend in his own right, and I think that that's the perfect way for this to happen. I think that Randy Orton and Logan Paul are going to have a good match, but I have in my mind Logan Paul will most likely not be the United States champion by the time that match actually takes place, because the rumor is that he will be defending that United States championship very soon against Kevin Owens. And me personally, I want to see Kevin Owens become a United States champion one more time. And I want to see him defend that United States championship at WrestleMania. Now, nothing against Logan Paul. I think he's tremendous. I think he's doing tremendous with the championship, getting it eyes, getting it viewed, getting it attention. But I think at the end of the day, when the sun goes down at night, I want to see the championship be defended at WrestleMania. Just like the Intercontinental Championship is going to be defended at WrestleMania when Gunther defends it against whomever he defends the championship against, because there's a number of opponents that Gunther can actually go against. And there's a lot of people that he should face. Sheamus is one of them. Sheamus will be returning, or supposedly will be returning, possibly this week or the next week or something, going into WrestleMania season. All right. So I really want to see something like that happen at WrestleMania with the United States Championship. I don't want it just to be overlooked or thrown into another match or something like that. Now, if Logan Paul does have the United States title by then, my question is he going to be defending that United States title against Randy Orton at WrestleMania? That would be cool to see. And Randy Orton becoming a two-time United States champion is not a bad idea, but it's not really the type of idea that I have, because at the end of the day, the United States Championship needs exposure, a lot of exposure. And Randy Orton, he's a living, breathing legend. He deserves to be the world champion, not the United States champion. I mean, maybe it's just me, but, I think that other people might agree with me on that. But I think that was one of the best things of that chamber match, was that particular moment or set of moments took place where they set the seeds for Logan Paul, Randy Orton. But another one that sort of set me a little bit over was AJ Styles intervening in the chamber match itself and sort of setting up a future possible WrestleMania match between himself and LA Knight. Now, LA Knight, I would like to see him actually win and capture his first main roster championship at WrestleMania 40, becoming United States champion and dethroning Logan Paul. But, WWE's going in a way, way different route, and actually going into that season in the next few weeks, in the next few weeks, we could have Logan Paul lose that United States Championship to LA Knight, and the LA Knight could be defending that United States Championship against AJ Styles, which would give that more precedence. But there's a little bit more history between AJ and LA Knight between those two. So having a championship may interfere with that story just a tidbit, because it's more like a jealousy between AJ and LA Knight more than anything else. So I'm ready to see what happens and what's going to happen between those competitors, because LA Knight needs that exposure. And AJ Styles obviously has been on several WrestleManias by this point, and his contract's actually coming up this year as well. So it's interesting to see how many of these talents are going to switch shows. So how many of them are going to go to AEW? How many are going to remain in WWE? How many are going to stay in AEW? And vice versa, I like it when talents go elsewhere to see what they do and how they are, portrayed and stuff. We see what happened to Adam Copeland or Edge, how he went to AEW because he said that WWE, he did everything he could in WWE, and that he achieved everything, which he was the WWE champion. He was the World Heavyweight Champion. He had WrestleMania main event matches. He had some of the best matches against The Undertaker and Roman Reigns and, everybody who's, been in the WWE in the last 20, 30 years. And now he stepped foot in AEW, and then he started a feud with his old buddy, Christian Cage. And we see how that's going. Christian being one of the greatest heels of all time, doing his tactical work about, and on this past week, it was Christian Cage stepping into a promo with Daniel Garcia, and we see how that's going and how that's maturing. But Adam Copeland is currently out of action. But we see how the transition for these different talents that step out of WWE and go to AEW. So that could happen with these guys too. But at LA Knight and AJ Styles, I see that happening at WrestleMania as well. I see them setting the seats for that, and they have AJ Styles beating the holy heck out of LA Knight last night. Was very, very prominent to set up that feud and make that more prominent for a WrestleMania showdown, which I see AJ probably putting LA Knight over, getting him more up the card. And a lot of people, when LA Knight got his title fights, when he got his main roster shots against Roman Reigns, they were saying, man, Roman needs to lose his strap to this dude, that LA Knight needs to be the next WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion. I don't think that he needs to be the next WWE Universal Champion. I don't think that way at all. I actually think that he needs to continuously work and continuously do his deal. I really would prefer him holding a mid-card title before he holds that prestigious championship, that prestigious honor of being either the WWE World Heavyweight Champion or the WWE Universal Champion. The simple reason is because I don't think he's earned it yet. And a lot of people will be like, he has earned it. But I don't think that he's earned it yet. I think that he would be a good U.S. champion, and I think he would, if they give it to him, I would have him have it just like Gunther. Make ranks, make history, make moments, and continuously defend that title every single week. Now, is he going to have really epic matches like Gunther has over his over 600+ day reign as the Intercontinental Champion? I don't know. Really, LA Knight hasn't really been given opportunity with a singles championship yet in the WWE, but it's going to happen eventually, hopefully. I mean, so so those are two of the key moments that happened in that chamber match. In the women's chamber match, I really was like a little blown back because I thought that Bianca Belair was going to get more showcase. I thought she was going to be in one of the final two spots against Becky Lynch. That didn't happen. And it was Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, because Liv Morgan actually got 2 eliminations in her chamber match, and Becky Lynch only actually got 1. Bianca Belair, I thought, was going to get more showcase. I thought she was going to get more prep to her step. I thought she was going to look better than she actually did. And I was like, what is going on here today? So Bianca Belair, I don't know exactly. I haven't heard anything about her system going into WrestleMania, but the possible showcases that Bianca Belair is going to be in is teaming up with Jade Cargill to take on the Kabuki Warriors for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, which would be pretty epic. They said that Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill could be the next Harlem Heat, which could be a thing, I guess, but I don't think they could be the next Harlem Heat. I think they could be the next tag team in the women's division to merely take it to the next step, the next plateau. But I would actually rather see them go one-on-one, toe-to-toe, face-to-face at WrestleMania, and then afterwards become a tag team, form a relationship, form a bond that's inseparable. Sort of like what, Angela Dawkins and, his good old faithful tag team partner, what they have, Montez Ford. They are inseparable. They are undeniable, and they got it going on, right? So, I mean, sort of similar to what they have. All right, because they actually need to have more women's tag teams, and right now it's up and down. It's all around. Sometimes they have a lot of teams, sometimes they don't. And right now they have Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, which are a decent team, and they are former WWE, NXT women's tag team champions. But overall, they're not, the most peppiest women of all time. They're not, they're not super over. They're not on the show all the time. And so they're overlooked, overanalyzed, and then they're not really given the time. But at the end of the day, I would like to see Candice LeRae get some time. I would like to see Indy Hartwell get some time. But at right now, there are not a lot of tag teams that are on the women's plateau, for them to face. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do with Bianca. But Becky Lynch is going to go one-on-one, toe-to-toe, face-to-face with the WWE World Heavyweight Champion for the ladies, Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, which I think is going to be a good match. But in certain degrees, I think that the match was teased 2 years ago between, and at the time they were both champions. So Rhea Ripley just won the Royal Rumble, and Bianca Belair was the champion, and they teased the match. And then after they both won at WrestleMania that year, they teased a match again on Monday Night Raw that year. And I was like, wow, we potentially could get this match between Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. That would be amazing, because they're both very similar. They're both two young stallions that go out there and they just dominate, just decimate, just kind of conquer anything and everything in their way, and they do exactly what they need to do, right? But we are still on hold for that match, all right? We are still on hold. And so Becky Lynch is going to go get her shot for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and get that shot against Rhea Ripley. I think that's tremendous, all right? The match is going to be good. We might see a title change. Becky Lynch might become women's champion yet again and hold a new strap, hold a new honor. And I think that's the right decision. But I also would like to see Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair in the future. See Bianca Belair get drafted to Monday Night Raw would be tremendous. I'm not sure if they're going to have a draft this year, but they should. All right, they just should. And I think that actually some main roster talent should get drafted to NXT, not because they need to be, demoralized or anything like that, but because we need to make NXT feel like it is actually the third brand and make it feel like it's important, And so sometimes drafting other talents that are on the main roster to NXT would be a tremendous thing to do. So one of the other major things that happened at the show One of the other major things that happened at the show was Cody Rhodes and good old WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins were a part of the Grayson Waller effect. All right, the show is it's all right. Grayson Waller is not too bad on the mic. He's got a little bit to ways to go to be like the Miz on the mic though, but he's not too bad. So we get that show, and basically the key moment of that show was not just them laying the boys out, all right, laying this guy out, Grayson Waller, and taking that guy out in good old Australia, but they also did another factor where Cody Rhodes challenged The Rock to a future matchup. Now, me personally, I want this match to happen ASAP. I don't want it to happen to Monday Night Raw. I don't want it to happen on SmackDown. I want it to happen at WrestleMania. And WrestleMania, I believe, is going to be a two-night event, two-night spectacle, and it's going to be all over the time, all right? It's going to be one of the best nights of all time, all right? Both evenings, all right? Going to be tremendous, all right? So I think one of the main events for night one, all right, because I think that one of the main events needs to be one of the women's world title fights, all right? And I think it makes more sense for Bayley to be in the world title match than it does for Becky Lynch to be in the title fight, just simply because Bayley won the Women's Royal Rumble, and the sort of the slogan of the winning the Royal Rumble is that you are going to be catapulted into the main event. All right. And so I think Io Sky defending the women's championship against Bayley would be a tremendous main event. All right, it would be incredible, especially seeing like the Kabuki Warriors get involved and seeing who else is going to be helping Bayley, seeing if there's any returns in store, seeing what's going to happen. All right, but people are probably aiming more for Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch in the main event of night one. All right, but earlier in the evening, we could have The Rock one-on-one with Cody Rhodes. Now, I think that this match is going to be incredible. This match could be the main event itself. All right. These two guys right here, obviously, The Rock has done tons in the wrestling company. And The Rock is obviously the newest member of the Bloodline, which I think is a tease to a future matchup because the way The Rock did things, yeah, he was dressed up just like he was in the early 2000s, late 90s, all looking all fancy and stuff and speaking on the mic with style and charisma guiding his steps and everything. But I think that he teased more of turning on Roman than anything else. So possibly at SummerSlam or at WrestleMania of next year, we'll see the matchup or the turn when Rock screws over Roman Reigns. But Cody Rhodes versus The Rock on night one in the main event, I think would be a tremendous main event. It makes more sense for it to be the main event than one of the women's matches, I guess. But they're probably going to be aiming for Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch in the main event, I would say. There's so much heat and animosity. So when The Rock smacked Cody Rhodes in the face, it was like the world just stopped moving. Even though if the world stopped moving, we would be dead. But it stopped. It stopped moving for a few minutes, and people were just like, "Wow, what's going on here today? What's going on?" Period. So The Rock automatically at that moment, he turned heel and became one of the most hated guys in wrestling. Now, he was already hated before then because it felt like he was trying to steal Cody's spot. It was feel like he was trying to steal Cody's what he deserved. The opportunity as the match that people wanted to see. People dilated into seeing where Cody Rhodes was facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania for the main prize, the main possession, the WWE Universal Championship. And even when after he won the Royal Rumble, he was pointing at Roman. It was all, all antics, and he was high with all this anticipation and intensity, and he just wanted to rip him apart, and he wanted to become, the new challenger for the WWE Universal Champion. And then, the slap heard around the world, and now Cody Rhodes is challenging The Rock, and he challenged him not to a WrestleMania match, but to a fight just any time, pretty much. And it's undetermined at the moment. I think this needs to happen night one simply because, well, it's WrestleMania. It's the grandest show of them all, right? And The Rock already said multiple times that he's going to be lacing up his boots. And it was stated that Seth Rollins wanted to help Cody out. He wanted to help him, and he wanted to be by his side to help him fight the Bloodline, right? So Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes were rumored to be facing Roman Reigns and The Rock on night one. And that still could particularly happen. That could happen still. So leading up to that point, we could have Rock versus Seth Rollins or Rock versus Cody Rhodes on a SmackDown or on a Raw or something. But I feel like that's more of a money-breaking match, and a match that people want to see on pay-per-view. And I don't think WWE is just going to give it away for free kind of thing. So I think that match will probably happen at WrestleMania, and I want to see these two just beat the holy heck out of each other. I want Cody to see Cody beat The Rock. All right, I want to see him beat The Rock, and I want to see the anticipation for the following night when Cody Rhodes steps up to Roman Reigns. Now, it would make a little bit of sense if Cody Rhodes. It would make a little bit of sense if Cody Rhodes lost to The Rock, and then he has like doubt in his mind that he can actually beat Roman. So I could see them doing that too. But either way, we're going to have a highly anticipated match and a very good match between the two of them. And I think The Rock will probably respond within the next few weeks if that match is actually going to take place or not. And I hope it does. I really tremendously hope it does. I hope that we get Rock versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and that'd be amazing because we're already getting a stacked show. And then they've already announced many matches. They've announced Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, which is going to be an incredible contest by itself. We got Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which is going to be another amazing match. I got in a prediction that Sheamus is going to return and he's going to challenge Gunther to a match for the Intercontinental Championship. And I think that Sheamus is finally going to he's going to make history that night when he becomes the Grand Slam champion, the Triple Crown winner, everything. He's already a Triple Crown winner, but Grand Slam champion when he beats Gunther to become and capture his first Intercontinental Championship. We're also going to have many other different occurrences happen. I want to see, and also I'm going to guess they're going to have Logan Paul versus Randy Orton, possibly LA Knight versus AJ Styles. They're going to have possibly the Uso brothers scoring off Jay versus Jimmy. It's going to be this match, and we're also going to have Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest defending those World Tag Team straps against a tag team. I would actually have them defend the titles against several teams because what better way to get a lot of people on the card than having a multi-man tag team match. In the past, we've had multiple tables, ladders, and chairs match between ENC, the Hardys, and the Dudleys. I don't think we should have that kind of match. I don't think we need a tables, ladders, and chains match or tables, ladders, and chairs match or any kind of match like that. But I do think we need a multi-team match. The Creed brothers, they need a WrestleMania match. But DIY, I wouldn't mind seeing them in that mix, seeing Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa become champions for the first time on the main roster. And also seeing a little bit of, distinction between the ranks between Finn and Damian, even though they look really good as a team right now. And the title defense last night, where they defeated Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate in that epic match. And it was a lot better than I anticipated. And they also gave them a lot more time than I thought they would too. But I think that... And they've been running on all steam as a tag team, and they're two-time tag team champions, and they've been looking really, really good as a team. So we got a stacked show. I'm anticipating a good WrestleMania. I'm also anticipating that they're going to try to do something with NXT at WrestleMania as well. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do with that, but people like Carmelo Haynes, Trick Williams, who both of those guys are, they want to call both of them up to the main roster after WrestleMania. I think that Trix is going to probably be in NXT for a little bit because he'll probably be NXT heavyweight champion. So those are probably some of the key moments that I seen from and felt during WWE Elimination Chamber. Excuse me. It was like a saving grace to see that Rhea Ripley defeated Nia Jax, and it was only they only gave him 14 minutes, but the match before that was, I think it was 36 minutes long, and it was the Chamber. And I think I would have ended with the Chamber, but I think they gave the women's championship match the main event because Rhea, it's her home, it's her home, and that's important. But at the same time, it's not as exciting as a Chamber, But Drew McIntyre would have been in the main event, and he would have been victorious in that main event spot. But yeah. So it's a pretty solid show from top to bottom. What kind of things could we see at WrestleMania? You know, what kind of things could we see at Mania? Um, I think that night 2, when Cody Rhodes does get his opportunity against Roman Reigns, I think Roman Reigns is going to have The Rock in his corner, and I think Triple H is going to be in Cody Rhodes' corner. Okay, now Triple H can't technically get involved. You know, Cody could have somebody else in his corner, but it would make more sense to be Triple H. And I think Triple H and The Rock will just get into a argument, and they'll get into a little bit of a heated argument, and then they'll bicker back and forth. But I don't think Rock's actually going to lay a hand on him. I think officials and stuff will separate them, but at the end of the match, I think The Rock will hit the rock bottom on Roman, and turn face again, because the crowd wants to cheer him, and the crowd wants to get behind this guy. But at the end of the day, it's really a tight situation, because you have this guy who is basically, well, he was going to take the spot of Cody Rhodes, because The Rock said in a few interviews that he felt like he was a bigger star than Cody Rhodes. And in hindsight, yeah, he's done a little bit more than Cody. He's won the Intercontinental Championship more times. He's done more in the WWE overall, more than Cody. He's won more world championships. But at the end of the day, right now, at this time being in wrestling history, Cody he's a bigger deal than The Rock. The Rock's like yesterday's news, but he's still a major star in wrestling. Like, there's not a lot of stars from the Attitude Era that actually still go and that can still compete and that can still wrestle at that type of capacity. Now, you got like Billy Gunn, who obviously one half of the AEW World Six-Man Tag Team Champions, and he's doing great. He's doing tremendous, right? Road Dogg is a writer, a creative director, the genius, in WWE. And then you got like Triple H, who can't wrestle anymore because of his heart and stuff. But a lot of people from the Attitude Era are either retired, dead, or they do wrestle. They continue wrestling. And Rock doesn't like wrestle all the time, but So, anyways. So those are probably my key thoughts about the WWE Elimination Chamber. Now I'm going to talk about a couple thoughts that I have about TNA No Surrender real quickly, and then I'm going to jump back into talking a little bit about New Japan and stuff like that as well. So TNA No Surrender, one of the key things that I seen at No Surrender was that Mustafa Ali in his debut match becomes the TNA X Division champion. Well, he wins his debut match in an incredible contest against Chris Sabin, and Chris Sabin is a 10-time X Division champion, which is the most in the history of that company, and he's put that title on his back, And the match that I really wanted to see was Alex Shelley versus Sabin, but that's just me. But Mustafa Ali does it, and he makes history, and he becomes X Division champion. And I think that he's going to be doing tremendous with that championship, right? Also, two other former WWE guys, they won their respective matches and became champions as well in other promotions. So New Japan Pro Wrestling, the night before at New Beginnings, would crown a new television champion, a New Japan IWGP television champion of Matt Riddle, when he defeated Tanahashi to become champion. And I was excited about this. I think that Matt Riddle is an incredible talent. And I watched him back in his days at Evolve Wrestling, and I think that he did a tremendous job. I think he is tremendous, Just his little silly gimmick that he had in WWE just really didn't get him over. If he had more of a serious gimmick that he had on the Indies or he had in Evolve, he'd probably get over better, and he'd probably do better overall. But yeah, when he faced like Keith Lee and Evolve, and when he faced like Timothy Thatcher, and when he faced all these names from, even Fred Yehi and stuff, the matches were really good, man. And Matt Riddle is pretty dang good. He's a very talented athlete. He's a very talented individual. He's entertaining as hell, but he's a wrestler, you know. He's a wrestler, and when I heard originally that he signed with WWE, I was like, wow, this is cool. But now he's gone. He got fired. He got let go, and now he's trying to revamp, reanalyze, refigure things out, and he did it. And he is now television champion. I'm trying to ease into who particularly I would like to see him face in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Not a lot of names like pop out at me or anything, you know, but because I mean the landscape of New Japan Pro Wrestling will be changing. It will be changing drastically over the next few months, next few years. Which actually the Gorillas of Destiny, you know, they had their final encounter at New Beginnings, and it was against El Phantasmo and the good old faithful, you know, the brother of Tama Tonga, and we're just moving forward with everything, right? So, but yeah, Will Ospreay and Okada are going to AEW, and the company, Old New Japan Pro Wrestling, looks a lot different than they did, say, 5 years ago, because a lot of their top talents, besides Naito is sticking around, and he's the IWGP World's Heavyweight Champion, but you know, he's the man of the hour, you know. He's also in his 40s. I think he's like 41 years old. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think Naito's going to stick where he's at. But also in the main event on night 1 of New Beginnings, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth, he becomes the IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion, and I think that's tremendous. I think that's a step in the right direction. But it's also shocking, like Dolph stepped foot and he made it like a small appearance in TNA. Then he made, you know, a couple appearances in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then his first wrestling match in New Japan, he defeats David Finlay to win his first major championship from outside of the WWE. And I think this is a good move, smart move on behalf of New Japan Pro Wrestling and the president, or the new president, Tanahashi, to give him that opportunity and give him that creativeness and assertiveness. Because if they're giving him this championship, I'm already calling it that he's going to be the AJ Styles of that company. And he's going to move forward, and he's going to do great things in that company, just like AJ did a few years ago. And right after AJ Styles left TNA, because Dixie wanted to sign him so bad, but AJ wasn't up for it. And so he went to New Japan, and he revamped himself, and he became the new leader of the Bullet Club, and started this unbelievable run, and became a 2-time IWGP World Champion. It wasn't the World Heavyweight Championship at the time. They later formed that into something else later on, when Kota Ibushi became the first IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. But anyways, yeah, so I'm excited to see what happens with him, because Nick Nemeth deserves this opportunity. And I think that it's probably within a year's time, he'll be in the main event of a New Japan Pro Wrestling show. And he potentially might even become the World Heavyweight Champion over there. And they'll probably give him a lot longer run, because they actually respect wrestling a little bit more over there. Because I don't know if you noticed it or not, but when you watch a New Japan Pro Wrestling match compared to when you watch a WWE match, or even an AEW match, it's a lot more physical. Now, AEW is very similar to New Japan Pro Wrestling style, but it's still a little bit different, because they hit a little bit harder over New Japan. Like, you can hear it in the second row. You could hear it all the way up in the bleeder seats, the nosebleeder seats, because, I mean, they perform differently, and they make it feel like it's actually authentic and actually 100% real. And I've always liked New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, Tama Tonga has teased that he is coming to the WWE. I don't know if it's 100% authentic. I would like to see actually both of the Gorillas of Destiny make their way to NXT, because I don't know if you noticed in the last few weeks, but Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows made a trip to NXT, and they took out a few teams, and they made a point to make themselves sort of like the number one contenders, or the not number one contenders, but they should be number one contenders type guys. Carl Anderson is good enough to be a singles guy. Okay, so basically this whole storyline that they have between AJ Styles and Carl Anderson is sort of taking Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows down to NXT to really test their craft. But I don't think that's the whole story. I think that Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are mainly going to NXT because they're going to be teaming up with an old buddy of Tama Tonga, and they're going to be reforming somewhat of a Bullet Club. They've done this several times. So Finn Balor and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson had one version. Then you had AJ Styles, and those two had multiple turns together. And then, then we go on to the future and Tama Tonga, who's not really a direct leader of the Bullet Club, but he was one of the sub leaders of the Bullet Club. He also maybe having a run with these two, and they might be joining forces with Tama Tonga in NXT. So, me personally, I want to see that, but I want to see Guerrillas of Destiny go together because I think they are one of the greatest tag teams in the last 20 years in wrestling, and they had like 4 IWGP World Tag Team Championship reigns together, and they're an incredible team together. So I think they would bring a little bit more love to the tag team division in WWE. Because I know WWE in the last few years they're doing better with tag team wrestling because Triple H actually cares about the tag team division a lot more than Vinnie Mac does, right? Or Vinnie Mac did. He's no longer associated. But they'd bring actually something back to that. And I think that Carl Anderson and Gallows should be respected a little bit more because they're actually multi-time former IWGP World Tag Team Champions as well. They had the Raw, they had the SmackDown Tag Team titles as well, but let's be honest, those titles when they held those titles, they didn't mean anything. They were absolutely zero. And when they had the IWGP World Tag Team titles, they meant something. They felt like they were they felt like they mean something to the wrestling industry, the wrestling business. And they were good when they held those titles. And they still are good, but they're overlooked, man. They're overlooked. And I know you got teams like the Street Profits that are roaming the landscape now. You got teams like Authors of Pain that are running the landscape now. You got other teams that are holding those titles like, Finn Balor and Damian Priest and they're doing great with the titles. But then you got new teams, or should I say returning teams that are teaming up again for the first time in a while, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, and other teams that are still on the landscape that could become a factor in that division. So we'll just have to wait, and we will have to see what transcribes in the next few months, because actually that was the final show that Tama Tonga was going to be a part of. Now, I think that's super interesting, but they're also like saying, there's nothing to this. There's nothing to it at all. But they're always going to say there's nothing to it. They're always going to say, there's nothing to it. But Tama Tonga, I hope, does sign with WWE because a lot of the former New Japan Pro wrestlers have signed with AEW, and people are like, that's great. They're signing with AEW, better stories, better delivery, everything. I think that's good. Okay, I think that's good that they signed with AEW. I like wrestling. Okay, I'm not a hater on AEW. I'm not a hater on WWE. I'm not a hater on Ring of Honor or any company. But I have to say this straight up, that I think AEW has too many talents. Too many top talents. So they got Jay White, they got Okada, they got Will Ospreay, they got tons of talents, tons of top talents. And the problem with that is a lot of these talents are eventually become overlooked. We see, okay, so Jay White came in as the company as one of these top threats, these top talents that deserved everything in the world, right? And now what has happened? Now he's basically forgotten because now he's the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team Champions. I think that's like, man, you take this guy who's a big deal, and you take this guy who was a massive deal in New Japan Pro Wrestling. You bring him in, you have all this hype, all this announcements about this because Tony Khan loves his announcements. You bring him in, you have all these announcements, and you make him this big, massive deal. And then when he comes in, you drop the ball with him. Now, at first, they did good with him at first, and Jay White did amazing. But then they, right down on his face, and now he's a 6-man tag team champion, and he has this odd relationship with, Billy Gunn and his boys. And I'm like, is this really the best thing that you can do with Jay? Is this really the best thing that you can do with this dude? Because I don't think so. So there was a rumor at one time that Jay White was considering signing with WWE and becoming the newest member of the NXT roster. I think that would have been a smarter move because he would have been looked at as a star. And he would have been, I mean, he would have been one of the bigger names on the show. Let's be honest. One of the bigger names on the show. And I don't know if he would have actually went to NXT. There was a rumor that he would have came to Raw or SmackDown. But the thing is, he would have been treated like a star. Right now, he's overlooked, overanalyzed. So I don't think that's good. Okay. So eventually that's going to happen with Will Ospreay, which shouldn't. Eventually that's going to happen with Mercedes Moné, which she hasn't officially like signed or appeared yet on live screen, but she's wrapping things up. She's going to be signed on the dotted line soon for good old faithful Tony Khan. So I think it's going to be happening very shortly for her. But then eventually she'll trick down the show, just like, multiple other ladies who have shown up and have been forgotten or treated like they're not, if they're not getting hype right away, like, good old faithful Tony Storm, they're sort of forgotten. So we got a few people here, and if you guys could, leave a message, or leave a comment and tell me what you enjoyed from the WWE Elimination Chamber, and tell me what you didn't like from the Elimination Chamber. I think that from top to bottom, I think the show was all right. I think the show was, it was predictable, but it got to the point. Like, it got us to the point of knowing how we're going to feel about WrestleMania. Like, how we're going to feel when Drew McIntyre goes one-on-one with Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. How we're going to feel when we get Cody Rhodes, possibly fighting The Rock on night 1 of WrestleMania. I want to see that happen. I want to see Cody Rhodes not just beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but I want to see him beat The Rock at WrestleMania too. I think it would make more sense, though, if The Rock beats Cody and Cody has like some doubts in his heart, in his mind, in his soul that he cannot defeat, can't defeat this legendary team, can't defeat this legendary family, can't defeat Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Championship. And I think that would be iconic on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania 40. I think it needs to happen, though. All right. To be honest, I think it needs to happen. But, we also settled, got everything positioned for Becky Lynch and to go against Rhea Ripley. And I think that match is going to be really good. And I think it potentially might be one of the main events. But I wanted to see Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. All right. I wanted to see that match, and I've wanted to see that match for a while. And I don't think I'm the only person that wants to see that contest. I think there's a lot of people who crave that and desire that, and deep down they want to see it, but the WWE hasn't provided it. And I think it's a match that's going to happen later this year or something. One of those two individuals may get drafted to the other show. Rhea Ripley may come to SmackDown, or Bianca Belair may go to Monday Night Raw, and that match is going to happen. But it needs to happen. It needs to take place. We also might have gotten 2 teases at 2 different matches as well. AJ Styles and LA Knight might happen at WrestleMania. And AJ Styles did interfere in that Elimination Chamber match, and he did screw over LA Knight, which is horrible, I guess, But I think it's crazy cool to see, unpredictability back in wrestling, because, a few years ago, I would say, man, the show was predictable and it was lame and everything, but now I'm like, man, this part right here was not predictable. I didn't think that AJ Styles was going to be even there, but he showed up. So if these 2 guys do fight at WrestleMania, make it a street fight, make it a no disqualification match, make it a falls count anywhere match, make it something special, because he interfered in the chamber match. He used this chair. He took that opportunity, opportunity away from LA Knight, and I want to see these 2 go toe-to-toe with each other. I want to see them have a fight, all right? I want to fight between these 2 guys. And he's doing really good as this lone wolf heel, but is he going to win as a heel by himself? I don't know. I don't really have faith in that, but because LA Knight's so over, all right? He's so over with the audience, and he's going to continue growing because of that reasoning alone. Also, WWE teased having Logan Paul, the United States champion, fight Randy Orton at WrestleMania as well, because he used brass knucks, and then Randy got eliminated, got evacuated from the match, and then he got taken out. So that match is teased. Now, my question is the United States strap going to be on the line when those two go toe to toe in the match? Um, I would like to say no. I would like to say that the United States Championship in the next few weeks changes hands. Kevin Owens becomes U.S. champion again, or some other talent becomes United States champion. Maybe a guy from NXT or whatever becomes United States champion and makes history, and steps, goes to WrestleMania and does their deal at WrestleMania. But the reason why I don't really want to see Logan Paul defend the United States Championship against Randy Orton at WrestleMania is because Randy Orton doesn't really need the United States title. He needs the main title. And plus, he's a legend at this point. So he goes from being this legend killer from the beginning of his career when he was a part of Evolution all the way down to now when he's now the legend. All right. He's now going to be facing Logan Paul at WrestleMania. And I don't think he needs the United States title. He doesn't need that. But the United States title still needs build. And in my opinion, it needs to have that opportunity at WrestleMania in a one-on-one match or a multi-man match where the title's on the line. And I think that Kevin Owens defending that strap at Mania, or even another person. I mean, I could name a few people who could particularly benefit from being the United States champion. But somebody at WrestleMania should hold that strap and defend that title at WrestleMania and have an amazing contest. And I would have it be Kevin Owens, and I would have Kevin Owens retain. But I'm not sure who he would defend the title against. All right. But because there's not really any other stories with Kevin Owens at the moment. Kevin Owens just wants to rip the heart out of Logan Paul, which I can fully get. I can fully get behind that. But Logan Paul's not going to be in 2 matches at WrestleMania. Not like Cody Rhodes. Not like possible Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes have sort of come up with this bond, this partnership between the two of them to possibly have that dream match, the dream encounter between themselves and Roman Reigns and The Rock, which... I mean, I could live with it. I could die with it. I mean, I'm not like, I need to see that match. But, on the other hand, I wouldn't mind seeing it. So, anyways, if you're new to the channel, go ahead or if you're here right now, go ahead and leave a comment about what you enjoyed from the Elimination Chamber, or just say hello or start a conversation or something. If you got a question about something that happened in wrestling in the last week or so, just hit me up. And also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do try to put up, daily or weekly wrestling content. It's closer to daily wrestling content than anything else, than weekly content, because I try to build my channel up. And I have multiple different things that I do on my channel, but, wrestling's one of them. I enjoy professional wrestling, so I do that. So there's a few people in the thing right now. So I wanted to also say that, Matt Riddle becoming the IWGP television champion, and Nick Nemeth becoming the IWGP World Global Champion. Man, tremendous. As well as Mustafa Ali in Impact Wrestling, or TNA, capturing the X Division Championship at No Surrender. I think it was last night, and defeating Chris Sabin to win his first championship in his first match in Impact Wrestling is tremendous. So that means outside of WWE, there's a lot of success that can happen. There's a lot of good things that can happen for talents. And I hope in the future, that, this gives hope to a lot of talented souls that are in wrestling or who get released from WWE or other companies. I hope this gives them a lot of support in knowing that they can succeed outside of the company. Because I guess the stigma is that you can't. If you're not in AEW or if you're not in WWE, you're not going to succeed. When that's not really the case at all. I mean, we've seen what Impact Wrestling has done for talents. And actually, like when Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows originally left WWE, and they were like, trying to go back to New Japan, and they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do. They made a few appearances in All Elite Wrestling, and they made a few appearances in TNA, and they actually had some good matches with the Briscoe brothers and other team. And they actually made the tag team division in Impact Wrestling seem relevant, seemed like it was important, seemed like it meant something. And I was excited, and it's sad to hear and see what happened to Jay Briscoe. I can't believe he's already been gone for over a year now, and he was incredible talent. And now Mark Briscoe's carrying on the legacy in Ring of Honor, which I think they should do a little bit more with Mark, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, so if anybody has any questions or anything like that, go ahead and put them in the chat and stuff, and I'll definitely get around for it. So the match that I'm most looking forward to, I guess, at WrestleMania, the matches that have been announced, I'm mostly excited for Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso getting the match they deserve. These two have been multi-time tag team champions, and they've held the Raw, the SmackDown. They haven't held the NXT tag team titles because, they were back when it was FCW. So, but they definitely, when they reunite, because they'll probably reunite as a tag team down the road. But I see very similarities with them and, when Bret Hart took on Owen Hart at WrestleMania. Now, obviously, these two are not like submissional, technical wrestlers, performers, but the story, the structure is really similar, where, Bret Hart and Owen Hart had different views, and similar to Jay and Jimmy, they have different views. Obviously, the Harts were, Bret Hart had the Hart Foundation, and Owen Hart was the top babyface at the time, and he became a bigger babyface as time progressed. And then Jimmy and Jay's a huge babyface, and Jimmy is like this annoying heel, and then we have this this awkwardness between the two. But I want to see these two go out there, and I want to see them beat the holy heck out of each other in a match that a lot of people are anticipating this match. I want to see this match, and it's probably going to be one of the matches to kick off one of the nights of WrestleMania, either night 1, night 2. And Jey Uso finally beats his brother, finally puts that behind him, and he can move forward, and he can go for the IC championship. He can go for the United States championship. He can go for the world title, whatever he wants to go for, and set his eyes on something bigger. Because the next story that we're going to finish is Jey Uso becoming a singles champion, right? So him becoming a singles champion could mean him, because the original plan when he challenged Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship was actually for him to dethrone, and make Gunther lose that championship to him, and him become the new Intercontinental Champion, which I was shocked when I read that and heard that. But I'm actually not too shocked by it, because Jey Uso is very over. And if that did happen, just have Jey defend that Intercontinental Championship against Jimmy at WrestleMania. But it makes more sense when you sit back and look at it. It makes more sense for Jimmy to screw Jey over and make sure that dude does not hold the Intercontinental Championship. Make sure he does not get his hands on a singles championship. And I don't know how many of you noticed this, but every time he cost him the United States, he cost him the WWE Universal Championship, he cost him even the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Every time he cost him those titles, he said, "You cannot win a championship without me. I am your brother." And I think that's great. Keep it up. Keep up the hard work. But on another side of the fence is, when these two guys fight at WrestleMania, I feel the emotion right now. I feel the same emotion when I've seen and heard the entire feud between Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. Like the emotion, the anticipation. I want to see Roman get his head kicked in so hard and so heavy. And I want to see the same thing. I want to see Jey beat his brother Jimmy and possibly earn the respect of him. And after the match, they can shake hands and they can walk in separate directions, and they can, say, "Hey, man, you earned my respect." And Jimmy walks away from the bloodline, officially walks away from it, and his eyes are now they're focused on Roman Reigns and all the crap that the bloodline has done, because we've seen the teases over the last few months of Roman Reigns teasing that he's more favorable for Solo Sikoa than he is Jimmy. He doesn't really care for Jimmy. He doesn't really want Jimmy. And Jimmy's getting jealous. Jimmy doesn't like that. And I don't blame Jimmy. It's a human reaction, right? So I want to see Jimmy get jealous, and then he eventually, turns on Roman again. But this time it's permanent. That crap that happened, when he screwed over Jey originally for the WWE Universal Championship, That was a coy. That I didn't like that at all. But I thought that was not the best booking. I wouldn't say bad booking, but I would say just not the best. It wasn't smart. It was not optimistic at all. It was bad. So that's the one match I'm actually looking forward to the most. All right. The match I'm actually least looking forward to is actually Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. The reason the reason is not because it's not going to be a good match, because it will be a tremendous match. It will be a tremendous contest between those two individuals. But this match has happened several times. All right. And every time they have a match, it's a really good matchup. All right. Seth Rollins is one of the best wrestlers ever. I started watching him back in his days in Ring of Honor, when he was known as Tyler Black. And he's tremendous, right? He's an incredible talent. But the problem is, when I see this match like 100 times, and I'm like, man, I've seen this match 100 times this year. And now we're seeing it again at WrestleMania, the grandest stage of them all, at WrestleMania 40. Is my heart like, man, I want to, the anticipation setting in. I'm like getting all sweaty and clammy because I want to see this match again for the 100th time this year? Not really. It's not really like, super pumped up about that. I'm more pumped up about the future matchup, the future showdown between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, because I want to see CM Punk beat Drew McIntyre, possibly, and become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I'm not the biggest CM Punk fan. I don't like CM Punk, but I want to see that story be completed. I want to see that story be fulfilled, because Drew McIntyre as a heel is money, all right? It's a big money, all right? I don't care what anybody says. He's money when he's a bad guy. And he's, like him teasing when Lashley was on Raw and he was holding his arm and he was like, I'm hurt, kind of thing. And then Drew walks up there like a bad boy and says, hey, man, I'll pray for you. And hopefully your arm's better by the Elimination Chamber. I thought that was great. Great tactical heel work by Drew. And he looks and he sounds great as a heel. And there's like nothing that's standing in this guy's way, right? So, I mean, I'm least anticipating that match because it's happened so many dang times. But I know the match is going to be good. It's not like, oh, man, this match is going to stink. It's going to stink up the joint. No, it's not nothing like that. It's just that the match has happened so many dang times that I'm just tired of it. All right. And also some matches that the matches that have been announced. Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley, I think, is a little underappreciated. I think it's going to be really good match. I think it's going to be possibly the main event for the ladies, on night one. But I think that Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair is like that match that people are wanting and desiring. Bianca Belair is like really good, but the rumor is that Bianca Belair is going to go toe to toe with Jade Cargill. Or she could team up with Jade and they could take on the Kabuki Warriors for those WWE Women's Tag Team titles, which I'd be okay with either one. Either one would be okay with me. I think that either option is really good because Jade really, all right, let's be honest, when she first signed with WWE, she didn't have any appearances. And then she started showing up on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and they started teasing which show is she going to sign with, which show is she going to sign with. And I'm like, man, which show is she going to sign with, And she finally makes like that Royal Rumble appearance. And I was like, wow, she looks good. She, threw Nia Jax over the top rope like nobody else could. I mean, literally nobody else could. And, nobody is that strong. Maybe Jordan Grace, but good Lord, man, they ain't going to give her that kind of spot from TNA yet. But and she signs with WWE, we'll talk, but which might be soon. But what else can we do with Jade, So the main thing that we can do with Jade at the moment is have her team up with Bianca Belair and take on the Kabuki Warriors at WrestleMania and really make that women's tag team division mean something. Make it seem like it's important to the top guys in the locker room, like the writers, the bookers, the creative team in the locker room. Because in the last few years, there's been like 2 top teams, and that's it. But if you actually make it seem like it's important and make it seem like the women's division is actually important and authentic, then it will actually translate throughout wrestling. Okay, so you look at the different tag teams that are in the women's division right now, like Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell are good, but are they good enough to actually claim that prize, that possession, to be the women's tag team champions? I don't think so. All right. And I like Candice LeRae, but Indy Hartwell, you got a little bit more work you got to do. I think she should have stuck down and stayed down in NXT for a little bit longer and build her craft a little bit more. Maybe that's just me, but Candice LeRae is incredible. But I want to see something. So Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair is the rumored matchup for WrestleMania, and I think that match it'll be great. But I want to see something special between these talented ladies, because I don't think that necessarily is it going to. I don't think necessarily it's going to be a close matchup or anything, but I think it's going to be a competitive matchup between these two ladies of Jade Cargill and good old Bianca Belair. But I would have liked to see Bianca and Rhea Ripley go toe-to-toe with each other instead. Also, the plans shifted quite dramatically after Charlotte Flair got injured with an ACL tear, and a very drastic change to the WrestleMania plans, because I think originally it was supposed to be Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, or it was supposed to be Io Sky and Charlotte or something. Charlotte was supposed to be in one of the women's title fights. I think Rhea Ripley would have been in more sense, because I think the plan all along was to have Bayley and Io Sky go toe-to-toe with each other at WrestleMania. And at the end of the day, I think that makes more sense. It makes a heck of a lot more sense to have that title fight go on, because obviously Bayley doesn't fit into this new society of the Kabuki Warriors have created and transcended, within that group. So yeah. It should be good, though. It should be really good. I'll take a little swag. All right. Gotta cleanse my throat real quick. Also, if anybody wants to leave a comment, message or anything about what your thoughts about the WWE Elimination Chamber were, or if you want to subscribe to the channel, I try to do daily wrestling content. I also have other stuff that I do on the channel as well, so you can subscribe to the channel if you want. And I don't know how many of you heard about the former WWE guys getting more of a groove, meaning more of a huge, massive transition in their new employer, their new home, if you will. So Mustafa Ali became the new X Division champion in TNA, defeating Chris Sabin. And it was the best match of the night. I announced that on my prediction video, which was also a live stream yesterday. And I said that match was going to be the match of the night at No Surrender. And guess what? It was the match of the night at No Surrender. And I think that Mustafa Ali is the perfect candidate to be the holder and the possessor of that championship, mainly due to the fact that he is just so dang good. And he was overlooked for such a long time. And that's not good, like, at all, especially when you're that dang good. You shouldn't be overlooked like that. So, I mean, he was in title fights. Let's not get this twisted. He was in title fights against some of the best, but he just wasn't in. He didn't capture any titles, and I think that's not good either. All right, so. And then we also had Matt Riddle become the new IWGP World Television Champion when he defeated Tanahashi, who's the new president of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And that match was really good, too. I think they gave it a decent amount of time, but Tanahashi in that match is rumored to have gotten injured in that match, or got injured post-match or something. I think he got injured in that match because the following night he was actually supposed to team up with formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, now known as Nick Nemeth. That's his real name, but he was supposed to team up with him, a good old Tanahashi. And then Matt Riddle was teaming up with somebody else on night 2 of the New Beginnings show. And yeah. So, and Nick Nemeth would defeat David Finlay, who's the son of Fit Finlay, who's now a WWE producer, to become the new WWE, or not WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, the IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion. And that was a little bit of a shock to me, because I know that David Finlay, well, he just unified. So this global championship is just, it's only been around for 50 days. or 50 plus days, right? So back back in January, that title was unified. So it was flabbergasted together. So the IWGP United States Championship and the IWGP UK Championship were unified together. They became the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. And David Finlay defeated Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay in a triple threat match to become the inaugural champion, right? It's a huge, massive victory for him. But the sad thing is he only held the title for 50 days before losing that strap. That's horrible, man. Losing the strap 50 days after holding it. But I guess you held the title, you held the strap, you made it look good, and now Nick Nemeth is now the new possessor of that title. Like I've said numerous times, I think that Nick, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, will be in the world title picture very shortly in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I think that's a smart decision. I think that he is going to do similar things in New Japan Pro Wrestling that AJ Styles did a few years back. And I think that AJ Styles, when he was in New Japan Pro Wrestling, he changed the entire development in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, you think about it, like some of the talents that were in New Japan Pro Wrestling at the time, you got like AJ Styles and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows and the Young Bucks, and, Prince Devitt left a few years prior, but just imagine if he was still there and still thriving and still doing his deal. It was monumental, and Finn Balor goes to NXT and does his deal and has tremendous matches with Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens and many others. And but I think that Nick Nemeth is going to do similar things what AJ did. I think that he's going to hold that global championship for a decent length of time, and I think that he's going to do really good. And he's going to be the name that brings that title back to prominence. All right. It really hasn't been a promise, but when the IWGP United States Championship was around, we had people like MVP hold it. You had people like, Shingo Takagi hold it, and many other names hold that championship. And I think they did really good. All right. The championship looked really good. But over time, even Moxley held it, like 2 times, I think, maybe 3 times. Lance Archer had it a couple times. Lance Archer and actually Jon Moxley fought on IEW Dynamite in a, I think it was a last man standing match or something like that. And Lance Archer actually defeated Moxley to become the new IWGP Heavyweight Champion, or retain the championship against Moxley. And I was like, wow, So, but we'll see in the next few years what actually happens. But I think that Nick Nemeth will be one of the main counterparts to, a lot of the talent who have left New Japan Pro Wrestling may return, like Will Ospreay may return to have that dream match with Nick, and also may have a dream match with Matt Riddle. I wouldn't mind seeing that either. But we'll see what the landscape has to offer at that particular point. All right. See if there's anything else in my notes. I don't think there is. There probably isn't. Oh yeah, and also like one of the biggest factors is recently we've seen quite a few talents like sign over and become a part of the SmackDown brand. SmackDown brand has been signing a lot of talents, and 2 of the talents that they have signed, not just people like Naomi, but they also signed Tiffany Stratton and they signed Braun Breaker. My question is, who do you believe will be the bigger superstar out of Tiffany Stratton and Braun Breaker? Do you think that we're going to have, Braun Breaker be the bigger star, which Braun Breaker wasn't a part of the show at all, but he's the current one half of the current NXT World Tag Team Champions? Or do you think that Tiffany Stratton is going to be a part of that? I personally believe that right now, Tiffany Stratton's the bigger star, okay, because she's currently on SmackDown. She got her full call up, which is great. But I think futuristically, Braun Breaker is going to be the bigger star. So, trying to think if there's anything else. if there's anything else I want to discuss or talk about. Um, okay. So the rumor is, I guess, originally Bronson Reed, who is also from Australia, was actually supposed to originally go toe-to-toe, face-to-face with Seth Rollins at the WWE Elimination Chamber prior to Rollins' injury, which I think if that match would have taken place, obviously Seth Rollins would have retained the championship. But I also think that you could have Bronson Reed still be in the chamber match. I mean, I think Bronson Reed and Ivar should have been in the chamber match to settle a little bit of a feud that those two guys have against each other. And they have a really good feud against each other, but hard hitting and very physical, something that New Japan Pro Wrestling likes to, sell. But Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed would have been a really good match, especially to get Bronson Reed over more as a bad guy, a heel. And, but Seth unfortunately got injured, and lucky he just got injured, minor injury, and he's about to be cleared to compete again. But Bronson Reed was a rumor to go toe-to-toe with him, and I would have not mind that match at all. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. Hour and 15 minutes. Is there anything in AEW I want to talk about? Let's see. Oh yeah, like something that that I seen was that something I've seen lately was that Sammy Guevara accidentally broke the nose of Jeff Hardy on AEW Rampage last week. And now, going forward, Sammy Guevara is still feuding with the Don Callis family. Sammy Guevara, to me, Sammy Guevara to me is an instant heel, but this feud with him, feuding with the Don Callis family, I like to see it come to a screeching halt. I know he came out this past week on Dynamite and Rampage, and he did his little skit, and he's potentially going to be fighting Powerhouse Hobbs very shortly. I would like to see him win and then leave that feud altogether, because I don't know. He's more over as a bad guy than he is over as a good guy. Arrogance, the connivingness, So I thought the original plan was to eventually give him and Chris Jericho the AEW World Tag Team Championships. But I guess plans changed, and they changed drastically. And I'm not exactly sure where they are at on the listing. Like they have this listing now of who is the top tag teams. And Chris Jericho right now is on hiatus from AEW for the time being, but we have Sting and Darby Allin holding and possessing those tag team titles. And when we're getting close to a few weeks away from Sting's final match, his final encounter, and when he teams up with Darby Allin to defend those straps against the Young Bucks, and that match will be incredible. And I think that the Young Bucks should lose that match. But Ric Flair came out of their dressing room this past week and teased that he was going to might screw over Sting or something. But I think that it's a little predictable at this point. I think that Sting, his best buddy, Ric Flair, who actually is not his best buddy. If you look at their history in wrestling, you'll actually notice real quickly that Sting and Ric Flair actually butted heads more than they actually were best buddies. But I think that that's a little predictable about Sting getting stabbed in the back by Rick. I think that good old faithful Flair is going to turn on the Bucks, and then Sting is going to retire as a champion. All right. And I think that's a bold move. I mean, Sting doesn't want he originally didn't want to be champion. He originally didn't want that kind of exposure. Originally, he just wanted to have a one-on-one affair or a two-on-two affair at his final encounter, his final pay-per-view appearance. And AEW Creative said, nope, we're going to have you be champion. And he's like, what the heck, you know? And so now they're going to have this match with the Young Bucks, which at first made no sense. But now it makes perfect sense, and it makes crystal clear sense of why they want this match to happen. And I think it makes good sense now. But at first, when the Young Bucks came on the stage, I was like, what the heck are these two guys doing? And then they show, more heel tendencies. They show more heel flair. They show what they're really capable of and everything. And I think that is what we want to see, this heel side of the Young Bucks. And my question is, if you have these two guys like Darby Allin and Sting retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships at Resolution, and they retain them, and then they continue doing their deal, Sting retires as a champion. They're going to have a tournament to crown new AEW World Tag Team Champions, which will probably feature, the Blackpool Combat Club versus FTR and, many other teams that are on the roster that deserve that shot to become AEW World Tag Team Champions. I think that's a good idea. Oh, yeah, and another thing I want to talk about, I know we, just, talk about different things in wrestling right now, but Wardlow's promo this past week was like, man, you either get it or you don't get it. So Wardlow, to me, he's a really gifted, talented athlete. His promos are hit and miss. At least to me, they are. Wardlow is like one of those guys that he mentioned CM Punk in his promo. He mentioned other names in the promo, in which the actual current AEW World Heavyweight Champion he actually teamed with, and then he got stabbed in the back by Samoa Joe. And they feuded for a little bit. And then they went their separate ways because they were feuding for multiple championships, not just the TNT championship, but they were also feuding for the Ring of Honor television championship as well, which is crazy to think about, But they were feuding for that title too. And now Wardlow's warning Samoa Joe and many others that he's coming for that title. And I think that that's good, I guess, but I don't like it. I think that it's a little predictable. I think that Wardlow needs somebody else to feud with and get him prepared to challenge Samoa Joe or, more dominantly Swerve Strickland for that prize, for that possession. I think that after the next AEW show, the main show, I think that Swerve is going to be the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. But I don't think that Wardlow's promo this past week was as good as they think it was. It made him look like an ass. It made him look like he was, needed to be taught a lesson by some talented athletes. And he needed to be beat some respect into. But at the same dang time, I don't really think that I don't think at all that Wardlow's promo came off good. I mean, yeah. And it is sad, though, that the Icon Sting's father passed away. And so that's another reason why, yeah, the show was just a big old chaotic ball of, craziness. So anyways, I've been on here for about an hour and 23 minutes. So that's a long time. Let me see. So I talked about, I'm going to recap, I guess. I talked about a little bit of my feelings about the WWE Elimination Chamber. I talked about a couple feelings about the WWE winners and losers from the WWE Elimination Chamber and possible future matchups like between Logan Paul and Randy Orton. I also talked about a future matchup possibly between AJ Styles and LA Knight at WrestleMania, and Drew McIntyre winning as well as Becky Lynch winning their respective chambers. And Cody Rhodes challenges The Rock at a future date. I'm hoping that it's at WrestleMania Night 1, but that's, yeah, I think that would be the best night for it. So and also talked about how Mustafa Ali, Matt Riddle, and Nick Nemeth became champions after getting the boot by WWE. And how I think that the better match at WrestleMania is actually Rhea Ripley going toe-to-toe with Bianca Belair rather than going toe-to-toe with Becky Lynch. I know Becky Lynch is deserving, but I think that Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley it's more of a money-grabbing match for me personally. I like that match. I wanted to see that match for a few years now, and WWE just take it away. But yeah, I enjoyed this live stream. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't really watched any of my videos before, I'm Kryptonite Core, and I do wrestling videos. I do nature walks. I do different things like that. And I try to have a good time in life. So if you're interested in, daily uploads, and I try daily to upload a wrestling video of some sort. Lately, I've been trying to do live streams and test out that format and test out that landscape a little bit. And I don't know if I'm going to do live streams for, some of the bigger shows like Rollins, SmackDown, and AEW Dynamite, but I may try to do that. Haven't necessarily committed to it or anything like that yet. But sometimes live streams is the better way to go, especially when you're a small YouTube channel like myself, where you don't really have much to offer. And you don't really have a fan base at the moment. You don't really have a lot of anything. Except yourself, and that's about it. I do have, like a Bachelor of Arts in Telecommunications and stuff, but at the same dang time, I don't really have a lot to offer to a lot of people, mainly due to the fact that I'm just a small YouTuber that's just trying to survive in this pool that is filled with piranhas and sharks and jellyfish, and sometimes I get drowned out by the music and the noise, and I just can't survive, right? So if you're interested, though, in subscribing to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I try my dearest and hardest to get my passions, get my desires out there about what I like and what I desire. So I read scripture, and I really want to connect with God with that. And I go on my nature walks, and I haven't posted a nature video or a fishing video or a sunset video in a while, but I try to put my photography on my YouTube as well as trying to talk about professional wrestling. And I know, a lot of people are like, hey man, you're a pro wrestling mark, or, whatever. No, I'm not I mean, everybody's a mark, but if you like wrestling, you're a mark. But I just try to talk about what I like. So pro wrestling it's basically where it's at. All right. But I talk about, WWE, I talk about Ring of Honor, I talk about AEW, I talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And if other things happen in some other companies like MLW or AAA or, any other company that's wrestling affiliated, I try to talk about them. Like Chris Masters, or formerly known as Chris Masters, now known as Chris Adonis. He won the APW heavyweight title or something like that. Just a couple days ago. So something like that I'll talk about. But, or like, Shelton Benjamin saying that Bayley deserves to have more of a marquee on her name. Something like that I'll talk about. But if you're new to the channel, have no fear, because John Woods is here, and I'm ready to direct you all through what professional wrestling has to offer. And today I talked mainly about the WWE Elimination Chamber. So to everybody who watched my live stream, I appreciate all the feedback, which I didn't get any feedback. I didn't get any comments. I didn't get any messages. I didn't get anything at all. But I did have a few people watch the video for a little bit of time, maybe 20 minutes. But I had people watch it, and it's about getting your name out there and building your fan base and building a little bit of a community, because that's what it's about. The community aspect of it, that's what excites me. Not really building my name up, not really building the prestige of Kryptonite Core, but building the prestige of this community, because that's where it's at. That's where the stigma of that relationship's at. So I hope you guys have a tremendous and good old faithful Saturday. And yeah, until my next video, which I don't know in the heck when that's going to come out, but hope you guys have a tremendous day, and stay hopeful, stay faithful, and I will talk to you guys on the next live stream. Peace on the streets until next time, baby boy.